So the next topic we have in the list is related to cannabis. And the title is Cannabis, Sacrament or Economic Survival. So we are seeing during these recent years a total revolution for many states, many countries of the world in their policy towards ganja. And we know that amongst Rastafari has been advocated for many years. Even though there are smokers and not smokers, we know that ganja is not only related to recreational use, but in fact has even much greater resources. And we think about medicine, we think about therapies. And so we are finding ourselves as a movement now in a very crucial moment in time. Is an unprecedented moment in which we see that, you know, what we've been advocating for decades now is for I Rastafari and all of this, and has cannabis, ganja, to be taken as a sacrament only, as economical development also, as a way to make economy. So this is basically the subject. So I know Ras Flaco had something to say about this, and that's why he proposed this topic. So I don't know if maybe Ras Flaco want to start and then open up the reasoning for once and once to come in. Give thanks.
Yes, I reasoning and give thanks for patience and the understanding. Ancients say that Rasta and Ganja are twin brother. So Rasta never out time Ganja same way. Always have it. If you're not smoking it, him have it to share. Have it. But there's a sacramental rights about Ganja and chalice smoking. And there's a economic side of ganja same way. So when you look on the sacramental side, it's like a chalice smoking and the blessing of the chalice and all of that. But someone will say from smoking is a sacrament. But the ancients did burn tobacco too, and barks and at grabber. So when if you add tobacco to the herb, it can't be no sacrament. So we have to clarify that too. So we have to look on the use of herb. When you say you doing a sacramental herb ritual, how do you proceed? You can't just say, oh, ganja is sacrament, and you smoke ganja and you drink liquor and you put tobacco in it and all kind of something. You know, bless it, you know. So we're looking on that. So the question is, how do you treat your sacrament? If it's a sacrament, how do you treat it? How prayers are up? How do you bless it? You know, how does it empower you? Do you need to have a sacrament to see His Majesty? Do you need to have a sacrament to glorify His Majesty? You know, how are these things? You're viewing that the sacrament as related to His Majesty, or are you just a ganja addict? You just love to smoke. We look on those things too. We're looking at nowadays, Roman smoking and blending, how can a something smoke, and you can revolutionary change of ganja or cannabis sativa when it becomes the economic source now of the rich and famous. Originally, herb was the economic source because man couldn't work, couldn't get no job, plant him herb and sell it. He sell stick herb, he sell pound herb, buy whatever I need, and send children to school. The commercial side of cannabis sativa is out of Rastafari reach. And I'm yet to see a collective Rastafari coming together to purchase a license. I'm yet to see cannabis sativa being planted on any Nairbingi grounds officially without police run around. According to the Dangerous Drug Act, they give you 5 plants and a couple of ounces. How can that sustain you? So the government take over the ganja business and call it medical marijuana. What is our position on that? We will find that all these things out of our hands is just a thought on a high. You know, the man wants to smoke to get a high, want to get a hit. You know, ganja is not supposed to give you no hit or no high. If it's a sacrament, you can't get a hit and a high from a sacrament. There are ways to reach somewhere, meditation high. So we have to look at how herb is treated in general by Rastafari, or not an addiction. If you eat, you have to smoke. If you wake up, you have to smoke. If you walk up and down, you have to have a spliff. Can that be a sacrament? Or often, how many hours per day do you need a sacrament? Do you need a sacrament when you wake up, or you need a sacrament when you're going to bed? All those things we have to reason on. How is this the use of herb or the abuse of herb? Or the commercialization of herb? There's many factors when you relate to herb, you know. Because nowadays, Rastafari, it's just a smoker. And there's no disrespect to Rastafari who smoke. But more time, you know, some smoking circles, and the man who smoke the most, him not the brightest mind. Him just getting a high. You ever check the levels of smoking and what you get from smoking? So the point is that it's Cannabis sativa, the sacrament of Rastafari. As mentioned, as the Asians say, it is the sacrament. How are we treating the sacrament now? The grow up Asian through chalice of a bless. And you cannot leave the chalice smoking table until all the herb burn off. You know, excuse. If a round of smoke and more herb come, you have to stay there and smoke it off. You can't say, excuse me. It's a ritual smoking. But do we need cannabis sativa to reach its majesty? So look on that too. Maybe some people need it, maybe some people don't. And everybody need to have a sacrament to reach his majesty. Someone can reach his majesty all the time Irish. Someone tune his majesty every day and need no sacrament. But for those who need sacrament, I give thanks. But how do you treat your sacrament? You put tobacco in it. You can put cigarette in it. You put nutmeg in it. You put rosemary in it. Of man other what things to herb, you know. So the wiseness for Rastafari, set your own herb and smoke your own chalice, you know. Don't smoke no man chalice. Don't smoke no man spliff when left off. You grow up like that. Make your own a Rizla and you smoke with your Rizla and you smoke. So how do we view Cannabis sativa as a collective? How do we treat it as a sacrament? And since Cannabis sativa is not commercial, what is our benefit to gain? Or the question asks, should Rastafari sell their sacrament? Or people not sell sacrament? So how can we balance this reasoning going forward? When we have to look at all these things, you know. You can't just throw the word sacrament. It have a meaning. It have a way to go. So we can just toss it up. Oh, God is the sacrament. There's more to it. So let's see how best we can reason, you know, with a collective strength on these matters, because these are very important matters to speak about. As the older herb. Give thanks, Rastafari.
There is so many aspects about this plant. You know, the fact that given that it can be used for food, it can make bill house, it can turn into fuel to drive car, it can turn into, you know, all kind of things, the multi-purpose plant, you know. But the question on whether we're using it sacramental or not depends on the way how we deal with it and how we bless it in a special way, just like how you know, how people, you know, see or deal with, like, you know, in the church, deal with water, you know, drinking water after blessing it, it turns into be, you know, blessed water, you know, comparing to that way is the way how we deal with the herb. So the herb that we use for sacramental purposes is just, it becomes sacramental and becomes blessed with the way how we deal with it. You know, the prayers we say, the word song we give before we burn in it, you know. And I think we should not be standing as, you know, spectators watching the world making use of herb, cannabis, hemp in a commercial, on a commercial level, and we are standing on the sidelines just looking at it. And I think we should be part of that, you know. And yeah, this is what I have to say.
Give thanks, Raspaco, give thanks, Ras Uwe Banton, all great insights and all great thoughts and things that I must reflect in this time, especially now that, you know, there is a huge economical side for ganja, huge. I mean, greater than what we even might think, you know, and so it is a crucial moment in time, and we know that obviously the Rastafari family has been already moving forward and moving towards trying to enter this market as well. There have been attempts by different Rastafari groups or individuals, but we clearly not seeing a compact position of Rastafari into this. So clearly there is the risk that after have been advocating for many years, Rastafari get left out of all of this. So that's some very important food for thought. My personal vibe about this, and then I will be happy to hear what other ones hear about, feel about it, is that ganja, cannabis has many aspects. We have the recreational, we have the sacramental, but to what the aspect that I am more interested and more focused, and I think that we as a movement, we should be always more careful about it, is the therapeutical, is the medical marijuana. We as a people, we are, you know, devoted to compassion and to alleviate the pain and the suffering of ones and ones. So we don't have to interpret only that alleviating the suffering as spiritual or mental suffering, but mainly and firstly maybe the physical suffering. So who has been saying that ganja is the healing of the nation since now decades? So we are seeing now science proving what the Rastaman was saying a very long time ago. So to make it very short, I think that we should improve the attention of the movement towards medical ganja. At the end of the day, depenalization is very important. Within the movements, some of I&I is in favor of legalization, some is even not in favor. I know some Rasta is not in favor of legalization. I mean, when we speak as legalization as happening in some parts, different opinions. What I think we should put in our agenda as soon as possible is to increase our position towards the medical marijuana. That is what really can save lives, that what can help people that is not even interested in the psychoeffective of marijuana. People children that are suffering from terrible conditions and can get relief through medical marijuana without all the side effects of conventional medicines. So that is my take on that. Medical marijuana must be the focus. We have been smoking since years.
That is what I mean. You know, we must be, it's not about, we must be wise when we see what is going on. And there's, as you said, there's multi-purpose, so many aspects of, you know, and it's not thinking about in terms of, you know, profit, what we can gain in terms of how much money we can make. The world already making money on it. You know, the world, there are many, I think recently, you know, this on the stock market, this, some of the companies, you know, that deal with cannabis, you know, it went up in the sky, rocketed, you know, so we know of the purpose, as is Rastafari teach the world, as they say, you know, has been proclaiming from ever since, herb is the healing of the nations. You know, so we should be, I think it's also very important to establish a way of, you know, having the right, claiming the right that I and I, Rastafari in general, you know, have a right to use this and make use of it and support and train, you know, countries like, for example, Ghana recently, you know, has passed a law in Parliament about making use of, you know, cannabis, hemp, medical marijuana. It, you know, should be our project, you know, to support not just in Ghana but in all part of the world, especially in particular in Africa, to support governments with, you know, expertise, with knowledge, you know, and I think this knowledge has to spread, even in terms of, you know, nutritional value. There's so this plant, we know this, Rasta know it is a gift from the Creator, you know. So it's up to our intelligence and up to our mind and up to our ability of how to establish an industry in this, you know, without what do you call it, desecrating it, you know. This is, I don't see this, I see this separated, you know. Is, as I said earlier, is the way how we deal with it and how we bless it. Sacramental herb is something, is one aspect, medicinal is one aspect, food is one aspect, you know, building material is another aspect, you know. So there are so many aspects, and everything together makes this really a holy plant, you know, a gift from the Creator for I and I.
Greetings, one and all. I may say something. We're just interested, Raspleko. You said, you know, that no group of Rastafari had come together and not yet to purchase a license. I just thought this was an interesting idea. If you knew, you know, have they been working that, and roughly, you know, what is the cost? What is the cost of a license, and is that just relevant to one site, or is it or does it cover a country, or could we have an international organization through which other Rastas could have a franchise and operate under that same license in different places and things like this? I just thought that this was an interesting idea of a collective in order to purchase a license, and that potentially, you know, once around the place could work off of that license as a franchise in some way. Just an idea that came to mind. Thanks.
Give thanks for the questions. Give thanks, King. Rasflago, did I want to answer the Gretchen question? Give thanks.
Give thanks. Just want to read from the Dangerous Drug Amendment Act 2015, some basic facts. Possession of 2 ounces or less of ganja is no longer an offense for which one can be arrested, charged, and tried in court, and will not be result in a criminal record. However, the police may issue a ticket to a person in possession of 2 ounces or less of ganja, similarly to a traffic ticket, and the person would have 30 days to pay the sum of $500 at any tax office. A person who is found in possession of 2 ounces or less and who is under the age of 18 or who is 18 years or older and appears to the police to be dependent on ganja will also be referred to the National Council on Drug Abuse for counseling. The rules against possession of ganja summarize, tell you some pages, okay. The possession of ganja for religious purposes as a sacrament in adherence to the Rastafari faith. You can have that. The possession of ganja for medical or therapeutic purposes as recommended or prescribed by a registered medical doctor or other health practitioner or class or of practitioner approved by the Ministry of Health. The possession of ganja for purposes of scientific research is conducted by an accredited tertiary institution or is approved by the Scientific Research Council. Possession of ganja pursuant to a license or permit issued under the DDA Act. Those are things that was some guidelines that was given to Rastafari in Jamaica. But we have not seen Rastafari with a scientific mindset come about to deal with medical marijuana. Maybe they are there, I have not seen that. What I've just seen is smoking part of it. And I've seen big companies in Jamaica establishing ganja business. They are in control of it. The police do raids just the same and they can give a blind eye. They are not giving any ticket. I'm not aware of when the police giving any ticket. So the government has set their guidelines on ganja. We have not seen whereby the Nyabingi have given legal permission to grow ganja on the Nyabingi properties. We have not seen that. I have not seen where in member of Nyabingi Faith or Rastafari is given a transportation license or a license to sell. Those things we have not seen. So I'm not sure how far this Dangerous Drug Amendment Act will benefit I as Rastafari. You have many Rastafari still plant of illegal fields and still hustle. You know, sell split, sell pound weight, sell stick, whatever they have to do to survive. So if even the Rastafari, the cannabis, medical marijuana business side of it is growing, it's only ones who have big money could benefit. I don't see Rastafari collective putting up money to benefit from these. There are established Rastafari business in Jamaica same way, legally, and there's a Rastafari presence is those who oppress Rastafari doing it. But then if a man have his money, we cannot deny him for business. Or ganja now is a business for those who have money. So how can we mobilize ourselves to get a benefit? Will we send ones to university to research ganja to be scientists in the field to develop medical marijuana products? What is our approach scientifically to cannabis sativa so we can get benefits from it, make medicines from it? What do we have in place? So many ones in university or have that knowledge to be pharmaceutical people could tap into the source of the economic side of cannabis sativa, which is now in our face and not just smoking of it. I give thanks.
Yes, please.
Yeah, so when it comes down to the ganja business now, is why you see the secretariat is important. And if it was functioning, then things couldn't have been happening how it's happened, because we're not talking about joking, you know. Like we have people of the you know, you would say the white people, white rastas, then that have things that call sacramental rights, where they have us why we cannot benefit. We don't need to separate ganja as Rasta into medical, because all those things comes under the sacrament. It is our sacrament. from not just our sacrament, but it's been a sacrament from before our time. So if we can claim sacramental rights, that gives us even medical rights, even commercial rights, because it's our sacrament. We can commercialize it also. So, you know, these people take the rest of movement for a big clown. As I was saying, we have white organization. This, you probably heard of these white brethren who was operating a church with their sacramental rights, and they ship ganja all over the place. And you know, you need a little contribution because that is our right. You're not selling it, but that's how it's gonna end up, and we can't use what we have, and yet we have all these races among us claiming that they're representing I, and they're not doing nothing for I. They're the one that is depriving I of I rights, especially when it comes on to ganja. Just look into Jamaica and practically speaking and what is happening down there. You have leading Rasta of the Nyabingi order, and what are they doing towards the Rastafari rights? You know, so we need to address these things not in a hypocritical way and a mockery going on around I. You see, so we need to get serious and know that ganja is a sacrament from before. It's also an economical strength for I people who use it for various reasons. So I don't understand how we have all these intellects among Rastafari and we can't, you know, I was in Jamaica doing my share. It was like a uphill. If I didn't leave down there, you know, and even now in Africa here, we have to do what I have to make a different approach. But where Rastafari is, Rasta is supposed to claim his sacramental rights, not just to have place to plant ganja. That is the least. There is not one person, not one Rasta as it stands, that can take up a pound of ganja from this tabernacle to take to his other tabernacle, and police stop him and want to take away his herb. If we can claim such simple rights, what are we doing? What are we here? What are we claiming that we are representative of our people if we can't protect our people with their little ganja? In Jamaica, the police rob and rape the ganja fields, and as soon as you have a good high grade going on the road, they back it. These things, this is why we need a global administration to call on the people in Jamaica. Why is this happening that way? Call on the people in Africa, call on those in America, and see to it that we have a representative right over to make sure that our rights are properly dictated to government, you know, and those who are not aware, then we give them the necessary information to empower themselves in various regions. Yeah, give thanks.
So Ras, Junior Amigos, make me ask the eye. To the eye knowledge, are there groups or individuals at the moment that are trying to get license, or are they trying to access the ganja market, not on an individual illegal state, but on a legal and a broader dimension? Thanks.
Yeah, those in the Iraqi in Jamaica who's spearheading and cowing down other people, they are not, they're supporting the government to abuse the Rasta community. And these things can simply be addressed if people are vigilant. This is why we're not here to deal with no special person or no special breed of Rasta. We're dealing with His Majesty, Truth and Rights, government, which you call theocracy. So wherever there is evil, then it is our duty to dismantle it And in Jamaica, there's leading Rastas that are carrying out evil against I and I people by their not agitating for their rights. They want to teach I that I should go and try and get license from government. No, that is not the way that I is to go and get. We get our sacramental rights give us a right to plant ganja and to it even give us a right to ship ganja from Jamaica to anywhere in this world where there's another Rasta family that needs to get our sacrament. This is the connection that we have. And this is what we've established from 1996 through our high priest, Kongowato, by being recognized in the United Nations as a religion with our rights to our sacrament. And since 1996 is what bringing all these infiltration, because the world know that Rastafari is going to be very wealthy through this ganja business, because the Bible speak of it. So they send all these informers, infiltrators among us to divert I and fight against the Bible and fight against religion. When you see these Rastas coming up that they burn religion and they burn the Bible, they're agents of the system that are preventing, don't want Rasta movement to benefit from what our elders has established in the United Nations for I since 1996, that through that charter, we can ship ganja right through the globe. So they send their agents to blind us from our own rights. You know, it's a long story, but that's what happened. And people still leading us down that road as if we don't have any sense and know that our rights is being denied. And these races who are up front, they're not looking about our rights. They're looking to make deal with the government, how to help the government sabotage the Rastafari movement.
Give thanks is clearly a complex issue, especially when it involves an economy. And we know that ganja can bring a huge economy. So again, we cannot today, get down too deep and unfortunately resolve such a topic. But I want to invite all of I to reflect on the current stage of the relationship between Rastafari and ganja. And I see amongst the comments, and by the way, I give thanks for all the comments in the chat, and sorry if I did not mention them so far, but I see Brother Makepeace makes a very good point. He say, where are the academics working on the ganja issue? We need international lawyers to get this passed and set in law. I'm sure there must be lawyers among us or that would fight on INA behalf. I personally think this is a very good point. I have been going to Spain since the last few years, before COVID, obviously, because that's where we have the Rotterdam Sunsplash and the House of Rastafari, of which I'm blessed to be the coordinator amongst other brothers and sisters. And I remember one year I met a lawyer that was specialized in ganja issues, and it was specialized in protecting, so to speak, the rights of ganja smokers or ganja holders in front of police and in front of against the national court. So what I'm saying is, Spain is a very advanced country surely in Europe, but also in the world when it comes to ganja issues. And I know, if there are lawyers taking care of these matters in Spain, surely there must be in the United States and in other side of the world. So could it be the case that I should be reaching out to these professionals to help us solving this matter?
Well, I want to just share a little experience from here, the country I live, that is in Germany. You know, my experience of working with a company over here that, you know, deals in industrial hemp, you know, and, you know, they have legalized, you know, cultivation of industrial hemp in Germany since re-legalized it in, I think, 1996. So this company, I started working with them, and you know, they do mostly like food stuff, but they started as from 2014. That time they started to deal with CBD, you know, extracts, and it was or to witness the development. When I started working with them in 2014, CBD was not regulated in any way. You know, there was the only thing that was regulated or restricted was the THC component of the herb plant. You know, and at those in 2014, there was the pharmaceutical companies as well as the people who they advise, meaning the organs in the different institution, whether it be on EU, on the level of the EU or the German jurisdiction, you know, they were instructed that there is no medicinal use in CBD, so therefore it was not regulated. After a little time, when the world became more aware of the potential of CBD extracts, medicinal, yeah, all of a sudden the restrictions came and made it, since that day, you know, they have made it harder and harder for any products, you know, with CBD content, you know, to be sold legally, you know. So what I'm trying to say is there is I could call it like a mafia. You know, there is an organization internationally that is working on giving out licenses, you know, only to a specific group of people, you know. When medicinal use of cannabis was passed the German parliament in 2017, I think, you know, they, at the same time, they didn't legalize that the herb, you know, used for medicinal purposes could be planted in Germany. Instead, they did it in a way that all the herb that was supposed to be given out in pharmacies, you know, to patients, to people to use it, would have to be imported either from the US or from Canada, and some from Israel, and I think recently also from Great Britain, I think. So there is a structure and a group of people working internationally, making sure that this potentially billion-dollar market, you know, stays in the hand of a small group of people. And this is also the reason why Rastafari, you know, has been suppressed in, you know, any effort, you know, of organizing and structuring has been suppressed. And this is not just happening in Jamaica. It's an international thing, you know. That's why I said earlier, a mafia kind of group of people, you know, who are, you know, but they come in the form of corporations and startup companies operating internationally, just, you know, trying to monopolize this market, this potential billion-dollar market, you know. So we should come as no surprise that they are trying to stop I and I from participating. This is why it is essentially important that we find a way of how to claim that right for Rastafari, because this is what Rastafari has been standing for ever since. It's because of Rastafari message, because of the word of Rastafari, why the world, that helped the world to become aware of the potential of this plant, you know, so I should be there. It's just a matter there again, and this is, you know, what the conclusion we have come to repeatedly in this meeting here is, how do we organize and centralize ourselves and to speak collectively with one voice to claim our right. And it's interesting, and I give thanks for the reasoning, Regine Negos, because I had no awareness that this was already established within the UN through Bongo Watu, you know, as a fundamental sacramental or right, you know, for us to deal with it on a certain level, as in
Since 96.
96. So it's how do we claim that right? How do we reclaim it then? How does, you know?
Give thanks, see, yes, give thanks for the whole history. And so again, we find ourselves, you know, in a very split situation, yeah. And we need to recognize all of our internal struggles and division and stages, but at the same time, I need to, you know, face the fact that the present time is not waiting for nobody. Present is running, time is running. So I as a group, as a movement, despite all our histories, including the difficult pages, we have to find a way forward to go in this time, you know. And I just want to add on the note of especially what Brother Uwe Banton said, very important, that there are not Rastafari groups that are entitled to license, but we know for sure that there are Rastafari individuals in the States. I know personally, maybe even in other parts of the globe, but individuals that have license and they are entitled to grow and sell, and consequently making a very good economy out of it. So this is why I'm saying this. Could it be possible that those brethren and sistren would help speeding up the process for Rastafari on a larger scale to get access to license and things, since individuals are already doing it? I mean, that means the door is already open, so to speak. So could be that facilitating I as a movement. And this is obviously a question that cannot be answered tonight, but just, you know, to keep it in mind, it's not true that we have not our hands on ganja at all in this time, but we have not our rights and our hands on ganja as a group. But as individuals, yes, that is the case.
Chair, if I could say, the thing that concerns I is that regardless of whether I get licenses or not, that some people will be getting them and they will be making money off the back of Rasta iconography, terminology and the like. And we see it happening in the world. And so I know that the Millennium Council on Baniwalia did a lot of work on kind of securing Rasta intellectual property around those things. And so I wanted to ask a question about if anyone has any update on where that got to, because I lost track of how that had proceeded. And then, and if why raises a second question is if there are Rasta businesses and we have Rasta economic development, and those are under the auspices of explicitly Rastafari business, what are the obligations of those businesses to Rastafari community? Because it's been raised the question of how does these things benefit our community? And we know the situation of our ancients who are often living in, or sometimes living in poverty, and you know, so people making money off the name of Rastafari. But what are our expectations, or how would we like to see those businesses return and benefit the community?
As I said before, my humble opinion, we should organizing and centralizing is the essential key. We cannot stop what is going on. All the pirates, all those who want to become rich, you know, using Rastafari colors or whatever, you know, I think they will do that, you know, although they are not Rastafari. But the question is now, how do we organize ourselves? What do we do? You know, we must organize and centralize, and means like to think and act as a nation, you know, not just as individuals, but as a nation of people. Because as long, you know, Jamaica is a great achievement, and the ancients, you know, have been fighting for it long, you know, for it to be used now up until whatever the amount is, 2 ounces, you know. But as long as around globally, you know, I still, as Rastafari, cannot walk freely, you know, and use it freely to what our, you know, fundamental rights is, then we cannot speak and say we are free. You know, we haven't really achieved anything as a people. You know, as a nation, we haven't achieved that status yet that globally, you know, we are recognized, you know, for that, you know, for using our sacramental rights.
Very great, very great. And anybody wish to give or contribute to the answer to Brother Nando, or have some other take on the ganja topic before we move on? I know it's difficult because I don't even want to cut off the reasoning. We could go ahead for many hours, and but maybe it's also good, you know, to give some time to make things secular a little bit, and try even to come to the next meeting, you know, after that, once meditate on the matter and brings a refreshed light. Yeah, there are many things that are coming out today, of which I'm really pleased, and I think, I mean, all of I is, and the reasoning is really flowing smooth, and there are a lot of very important matters. But again, we cannot find and reach a resolution tonight. What we can do is to activate sparks of what could be, you know, a potential resolution in the near future, creating awareness, and also, you know, activating those processes that maybe have been a bit dormant or not activated at all during these last years.